I am delighted to be able to say I'm joined by the leader of the Yes Movement. Man, I only had a chat with him like 4 years ago briefly at WrestleMania 33. It was like a press junket. He wasn't even wrestling then. We couldn't even talk about the things we can now. But Daniel Bryan is certainly wrestling now. He's heading into WrestleMania. Fastlane approaching. Roman Reigns. How does it feel, Daniel?
I mean, I'm really excited. This is actually, so I'm wrestling Roman Reigns in the main event of the Fastlane pay-per-view on Sunday. It'll be my first pay-per-view main event in almost over 2 years. And so I'm super excited. Yeah.
Wow,
yeah.
I didn't know that. I was going to ask you how poetic it feels, kind of, because, you know, we all remember the 5 years ago, I believe it was, you and Roman were at Fastlane, and it was a totally different scenario there. Everybody wanted Daniel Bryan. Nobody really wanted Roman, but my God, he's grown since then. So, like, the magnitude of this match and how cool it is, it must, you know, it's different.
Yeah, it's interesting. When I came back from retirement, there was a handful of matches that I really, really wanted. And I thought the one thing that would be the biggest one, the top one on my list, was a match with Roman Reigns. And I wasn't envisioning the Roman Reigns that we have now. The Roman Reigns that we have now is absolutely incredible. I think, you know, he, from a physicality standpoint, from what he brings to the ring, he's and what he's bringing from a character perspective, like, I think he's the best performer in the Thunderdome era, you know, as far as WWE goes. And I'm excited. I'm excited to see where I stand on Sunday. He's bringing a whole new level of physicality. Like, I wrestled him last month at the Elimination Chamber, and he smashed me. So I gotta come back and do some smashing back. I gotta redeem myself. I gotta smash his face a little bit.
I believe, Daniel. I believe. And obviously, at the end of the proverbial rainbow, could be a match with Edge. Now, I like to talk about this match like, once upon a time, it was super impossible. Then you came out of retirement, and it was impossible. Then he came out of retirement, and it was possible. And now it's like, we need it, right? So we've gone from the end of the spectrum to the other. That must be salivating to you as well, right?
Yeah. So Edge is somebody who I've really looked up to my entire career as somebody who's such an incredible performer. And I think the story of two guys who are both forced to retire, kind of both at their peaks, right? Yep. So like he had just won I think it was the World Heavyweight Championship, or he had retained it at WrestleMania and then was forced to retire. And now we're like 10 years on, and yeah, I think it's just that there's a really cool story there. There's also like I got to wrestle him once, I think, for 4 minutes and it's actually a kind of a funny story. It was the first time I used Ride of the Valkyries for WWE, right? Oh, really? But I didn't know. So I didn't know. So it's like so Edge is already out there in the ring. This is a Raw match. Miz is on commentary, and the Billy Kidman, the timekeeper, is like, "Bryan, do you have new music?" I said, "I don't know. Is it?" And then as soon as I said, "Is it?" it hit, and it wasn't the version that you have now. It was like a much lamer version. And I was like, "Oh no!" And I walked out, and then all the crowd was like, "What is this?" And Edge is like, "What is this?" And Miz on commentary was literally like, "What on earth is this?" So hopefully, if I get to wrestle Edge at WrestleMania, we don't have a "what is this" moment.
That's awesome. You know, funnily enough, speaking about WrestleMania and how the card's filling out and whatnot, I spoke to Cesaro the other day. Now, you two did great work earlier this year, you know, storied past and all of that. I think it's very interesting. We'll hear about Daniel Bryan in production meetings. People love to attribute things to you, like, you know, the Drew Gulak work together and stuff like that, and how you champion for people backstage. I just wanted to get your perspective on that, really, like having a say, as it were, on SmackDown. Like, how is it, I guess, watching the things that you love play out? Like, how does that compare to being a performer? I guess, you know, that could be your life after wrestling.
Yeah, so it's interesting because it's not so one, I don't have that big of a say. So I like sometimes you know, it's interesting. We have something really great will happen on SmackDown, and somebody will say like, "Oh, that's Daniel Bryan." It's like, that's not me. That's like one part our performers. We have incredible superstars. I think, like, for example, like Cesaro's, to me, Cesaro is a no-brainer. I didn't, you know, like when you say like, "Oh, Daniel Bryan helped Cesaro." No, all I said, "Hey, this guy's really good. We should put him on TV and use him." Right? Like Apollo Crews, like I don't have anything to do with the Apollo Crews stuff. He's just great, right? And so it's like, and so it's but it is rewarding to see people that are talented get opportunities and knock it out of the park, right? Like that's and there's a certain joy to that. William Regal is has been my mentor in wrestling for years. And one of the things that he's told me is that being a mentor to a handful of people has actually been more rewarding than the actual wrestling. And he said, don't get me wrong, I love the wrestling part and he wishes he could still do it. But being a mentor is very fulfilling, And so yeah, there is something to that, the idea of helping other people. And I think that's from a human perspective, like we all want that. Like at the end of the day, for a long time, I think when you're young, you're like, I want to achieve this. I want to achieve this. I want to achieve this. And then as you get older, you're like, I want to help here and I want to help here. And it's just a different perspective.
I think it's very cool though, because I think we can all agree that SmackDown has gone to its probably best level in a long time these last maybe 9 months or so. And you've got people like Big E. I know you've spoken in the past of your admiration for him, pushed to a new level. Cesaro and Shinsuke have kind of come out from the cold this year and they're wrestling more. And you have to imagine that all of those factors add up.
It's really cool seeing these people, and people I've known for years. Like I roomed with Shinsuke Nakamura in 2003. I mean, that just exposes how old we both are, right? but it's like, and I've known Cesaro since like 2003 or 2004, right? Like, one of the cool things about some of these things is, and that I love about the WWE locker room is that there are so many of these people that I've essentially grown up with, right? Like they're like, I've become a man. Like we were all kind of children playing at pro wrestling. And then we've grown up and become men together. Like Sami Zayn, Seth Rollins just had kids this year, right? Like now we're fathers, like that sort of thing. It's a cool thing to grow and do this with people. But yeah, it is cool seeing how great SmackDown's become. And I also want to say part of that has nothing to do with me. That's just somebody who sees performance and saw performance in the Thunderdome in a different way than I would have ever thought it. And it brings it to a whole new level is Roman Reigns, right? Like he's the character work and the way that he's worked since returning and being in the Thunderdome, I think has improved the quality of our television a great deal.
Yeah, can't argue with that at all. I do want to talk about a couple of, standout moments in your career that I've always wanted to sink our teeth into a little bit. Now, we all know WrestleMania 30, right? That's kind of associated as the Daniel Bryan moment, the legendary picture at the end. But I feel, not that it's forgotten, but the opener with Triple H is legitimately one of the best openers you could, out of ever. I know we got Bret Owen and all of the great stuff, but Daniel Bryan Triple H is definitely an awesome match. I mean, how was that, putting that together? And because it kind of, I guess, is overshadowed by the amazing achievement in the main event. How proud are you of that one?
Yeah, so I'm really proud of that. And it's interesting because when I envision myself wrestling somebody like Triple H, what I want a mix of styles, right? I don't want it to be a Triple H match and I don't want it to be a Daniel Bryan match. I want us both to bring the best parts of each of us and bring it to the table. And I think that's what we actually got. Like, and you get the things that Hunter's great at, right? Like all the attention to detail. He's vicious and all these kind of things. But he also gave me a tiger suplex, which I don't know if he's ever done before, right? So it's like, and then the fire, and then some of the new generation type stuff as far as different sorts of action and that sort of thing. So yeah, so I was really, really proud of that one. And what's interesting when I think of WrestleMania 30 too is that like I was going through a ton of like neck pain at the time. I had to have neck surgery a little over a month after, and so I would be remiss to say if I didn't thank Jamie Noble, who was like our producer for that. Jamie Noble, he and I have been friends for years and all that kind of stuff, but he's my go-to guy. He's my producer. There was a period of time where I was having all this shooting pain down my arm, and it was just like a real struggle. And I was doing like media all the time, and then like having all these different segments backstage. Like without Jamie there helping me to make sure my stuff was good, right? Like, and he knows everything I do, and he knows things that I don't do that I can do, and he's like, hey, hey, what about this? What about this? What about this? And like, it's been such a blessing having him as like he's kind of like, I don't want to say he's my producer. He's like, he produces a lot of my stuff, but he was our producer for that match. And without him, I mean, there's been a lot of moments that I wouldn't have had that are cool. So,
Seth Rollins says that too about Jamie Noble. He says he has
yeah.
him a lot. Everyone has great words for Jamie Noble. Brock Lesnar as well at Survivor Series. I love this match because it was one of them that when you looked at the landscape of who Brock Lesnar hadn't faced, right? It was very intriguing, and you just become the planet's champion. It was a very cool moment, really. Like, everyone kind of lusters for that big Lesnar match, it seems. So when you finally got it, how pleased with you, how it turned out, and working with Brock?
Yeah, so I was thrilled. I was absolutely thrilled. I'd wanted the Brock Lesnar match for a long time, but how I always envisioned it was babyface Daniel Bryan, like,
yeah,
yes, and Daniel Bryan, underdog Daniel Bryan versus the killer Brock Lesnar. But I had literally just become the planet's champion and kicked AJ Styles in the nuts, and so I was just like, it was a really weird thing, and I think the weirdness of it also made it fun and made it more pleasurable for me. One of the things in wrestling Brock Lesnar, I don't think anybody really appreciates how great Brock Lesnar is and the mind that he brings to wrestling. And I also think that one of the things, and from a character perspective, I've said this, say on like Talking Smack or whatever, but it's actually not true, is I think Brock Lesnar really loves this. He just also loves farming, and he loves being at home, and he's not going to do it. He's not going to do it just because he likes doing it. He's going to do it because, hey, you need to pay me to do it if I'm going to put my body on the line, right? That sort of thing. But when his eyes light up when he does it, right? That's the thing. And and that match is something that I'm really, really proud of. And also it was a test for me. Like, I don't think there's ever been anybody in the history of WWE who's been more excited to take a German suplex from Brock Lesnar than me. Just to be like, okay, let's see. We gotta see what I got here. Am I good?
Yeah.
German suplex. Yep, I'm good.
Yeah, I think we were collectively terrified.
Yeah.
Like, please. But yeah, also, I hope he comes back. I mean, I'm sure he will, but I hope that he does sooner rather than later. I'm going to pack some questions here in at the end because I know we don't have long, just a couple of minutes. You keep saying, much to my chagrin, this could be your last WrestleMania. This could be your last shot. Where are you at mentally in terms of where your career is? Because I'm obviously selfishly like, no, don't do that, Daniel Bryan. And then your wife is talking about maybe a comeback as well. Is it one out and one in? What's going on?
Well, so I don't think my wife would come back probably until like maybe next year or something if she does, but yeah, I think her and her sister want to do something like together. Like, now with the whole time that they wrestled, there was no women's tag team championships, and that, and to them, that's really cool. So yeah, that may happen. For me, my contract is up soon and that sort of thing. And so it's really just an evaluation of what's more important to me, going out and doing this thing that I love every week, but being away from my family, being away from my wife and kids 3 days a week when they're at this, and they're at this stage that you don't ever get back. Right. Mm-hmm. Like I think it's a little bit different when they get to be like when they're in school and all that kind of stuff, and time isn't as slow as it is now, but like we're not having any more kids, and our boy is 7 months, and our daughter, I mean, she's going to turn 4 in May, and it's been so fast, and you don't want to lose that time. Like, as a human, like there are certain things that you can't ever get back. Yeah. I don't want to be, when I get home on Saturdays, a lot of times, I'm exhausted. So what I do is I hate coffee, right? I never drank coffee before we had our daughter. And all of a sudden it's just like, okay, down this cold brew, because I want to have energy and I want to show up for my kids, but I don't want to have to be hyper caffeinated to do that. I want to be there for them like that every day. And so those are the kind of things that I'm battling around. It's like, okay, what do you love personally? But then also, what do you love? Like, what's the most important thing? And so, yeah, that's really the struggle that I'm dealing with right now, what's more important, like
Yeah.
because one of the other things is, hey, from a financial perspective, you can set up your kids for the rest of your life, right? So you could do that, but the trade-off is that you don't get to be there for them every day. And so what's, I don't know, it's hard. It's hard.
I mean,
but as far as hard questions, that's a really blessed hard question to have, right?
Yeah,
like that,
absolutely.
Yeah, that's not a poor me hard question. That's like a really cool question to have. So
I can't understand, obviously, given how busy you are, but I have a 4 and a 2-year-old, 2 girls. So I get it that, how the dilemma of wanting to split work and being with them as well. But of course, not half as busy as Daniel Bryan. But what I will finish on, very final question. I'm going to assume and I'm going to hope there will be other WrestleManias. And if there was, what's the ideal opponent? We spoke about Edge being exciting, and but I'm imagining that in the mind of Daniel Bryan, the constant wrestling mind, there must be some guys that you would have a dream time with.
Yeah, it's gosh, it's hard to say one. Actually, I think if I could do a match 10 years from now.
Wow. Right? Okay. Yeah.
If I could do a match 10 years from now, and this is assuming that I'm still capable of doing it, and that he progresses to a level like that. One of the things that I think would be really cool, I've just recently started, William Regal's son, Bailey Matthews, was just on the NXT UK
I see
show,
him,
right?
Yes.
And so, for his experience level, he's doing really, really well. One of the things, so I loved being able to wrestle William Regal the times that I did in WWE, but I don't think anybody appreciates. I don't want to say I don't think anybody appreciates. He has affected my career so much, like in what he's given to me, and has never asked for anything from me, right? And so, like, I have an infinite amount of respect for him, right? One of the things that would be cool is to be able to do something with his son, right, at a huge level like that. Like, I think that would be, given how much, like, I wouldn't be where I'm at without William Regal, right? So to me, I think that's a really cool one. There's also this idea of doing something like with Cesaro or somebody like that, somebody who's just hey, we've grown up together, we've become adults together, let's just do one cool big ass WrestleMania match,
tear the house down.
Yeah, let's just throw it all out there. And then I mean, the another one too that I've always wanted and never been able to do is Shawn Michaels, because he trained me, and I just think the story there would be really cool. So those are three. I mean, I could throw out like Pete Dunne,
wow, yeah.
Tyler Bates, Walter, right? Like those kind of guys. Like those are all guys that I'd love to do a big match with Big E, like on a pay-per-view. I mean, there's all these. You start talking to me about who I want to wrestle.
Insane list.
And it's all of a sudden the floodgates open, and then we have like too many people and all that kind of stuff.
You'll never retire. Never.
Yeah, I'll never retire. yeah. Oh, another one. You know who I really want to have a big singles match with, and I don't know when or where this could happen, but would be Kyle O'Reilly, right?
Wow.
Like, I think that some of the stuff that he's doing with jiu-jitsu and grappling and stuff like that is so cool. And so it's like some of the stuff that we could do. And I'm like, oh God. Yeah. Why'd you have to get me started?
I know. I hate that I have to let you go. I mean, I want to talk about Pete Dunne and Kyle O'Reilly, man. The matches they were having, they were absolutely killer on NXT. They were right up your alley.
Yeah. Well. So I think I can say hey, we can have one more, I can have one more sentence, I think I can do that. But Pete Dunne, just did this promo about it was really good. He talked about how he thinks he's the best wrestler in the world, right? And it gets you to thinking because I would say that when I was in Ring of Honor in 2005, 2006, 2007, and all that kind of stuff, and I was in my 20s, and it's these are guys who they're becoming the best. And Pete Dunne, when you watch him work, you can't they're you may argue that some people are better, right? They may be better at this or they may be better at that. And when you look at him and when you look at some of the other guys and that sort of thing, like who's the best, that's becomes subjective. But they're in the discussion, right?
Absolutely.
And I've never gotten to wrestle. God, how can I not wrestle the guys who might be the best, right? And I think, and there's this idea that wrestling keeps evolving, right? And people keep getting better and better. And there would be some people who would argue that might say like Ric Flair is the greatest of all time. And yeah, Ric Flair is absolutely fantastic, but wrestling's evolving and different people are doing different things. And some of the new guys that are going to be the best are going to do things and be able to tell certain stories and do different things in a way that nobody's ever done before. And like, when you're on that cusp of like being like an old guy, like I kind of might already be an old guy, but I'm on the cusp of definitely being an old guy. Like I'm going to be 40 next month and I'm just going to be like, and so then I'm like a real old guy. But when you're on that cusp of being an old guy, it's like, hey, these young guys who are great at the new style and all that kind of stuff, I want to do it. Right. Yeah. So there you go. That's it.
I can't wait to send that to Pete Dunne. I'm going to tell him. I'm going to get the wheels in motion. But Daniel, thank you so much for your time. I know I've kept you over than what I should have done, but I have no regrets, Daniel. I can't help it.
Yeah. No regrets here either. So yeah. All right. Have a good day.
Good luck Sunday. Thank you so much.